When you talk about the greatest movie sequels, Toy Story 2 is often brought up. It expanded on the concept of the original and cemented Pixar as the king of animated storytelling. However, if you thought the original Toy Story's production was hell, you're not ready for Toy Story 2. Which is funny because it's nowhere near as talked about as the first movie. This is the story of Toy Story 2's production hell. In 1995, Pixar was on top of the world. Their first full-length, all-CG animated feature film scored them over $300 million, and merchandise from the film was rampant. Lasseter realized exactly how loved the movie was when he found himself in a foreign country, seeing a boy carrying a Woody doll. He realized that a second story needed to be told, but he was about to have his hands tied with A Bug's Life. Meanwhile, Disney was cooking up their plans of producing a Toy Story sequel. Talks of creating one started a month after the original's release. Their contract with Pixar meant that they owned all of Toy Story's characters and the rights to produce a sequel without Pixar. Jeffrey Katzenberg was ousted as chairman of Walt Disney Entertainment. Ed Catmull and Ralph Guggenheim visited Joe Roth, Katzenberg's replacement, to talk about producing the sequel for Disney. Disney wanted to make the film a direct-to-video, ensuring a small budget. It was unknown if Tom Hanks or Tim Allen would be affordable, or whether the film would even be CG. Disney gave the go-ahead for Pixar to produce it, with it being first announced in a press conference on March 12, 1997. Since he was busy working on A Bug's Life, Lasseter appointed fellow CalArts graduate Ash Brannon as director. Writing the script proved to be a chore. Many elements that were scrapped from early versions of the first film were recycled. Woody being a collectible originated from a Tin Toy Christmas, and Al Wiggins originated from an early draft of Toy Story. Sequences involving Woody being thrown in the trash, and the opening Buzz Lightyear cartoon also originated from these early drafts. The team thought it would be great to explore the themes of what would happen if a toy got abandoned or outgrown by a child. The idea of the classic Western characters and theming of Woody's Roundup were inspired by Western puppet shows from the 1940s and 50s. Pixar's main team of 300 were working on A Bug's Life. This left the problem of finding a team of animators to produce Toy Story 2. Interactive Productions Group, a software team that produced 2 Toy Story-themed computer games, were recently shut down by Steve Jobs. Between them, there was about as much CG animation as was produced for the original Toy Story. Lasseter hired them to do the animation for the sequel. The group worked in a different building from the main Pixar team, separated by train tracks. This meant that if the team wanted to consult someone, including Lasseter, they had to walk to the other building or attempt limited communication via late 1990s era email. Despite how busy he was, Lasseter closely monitored production. Time was limited, but the team's spirits were high. Animating the film produced new challenges. Technology had come a long way since the first film. Character models got upgrades, locations were expanded, and details were more fleshed out. These ambitions pushed the team to the brink, trying to perfect the imagery. For instance, you know that scene with Wheezy with all those dust particles? Well, those particles were made after struggling to make them look natural to begin with. It took several hundred man-hours to make even just one single particle of dust look good, and then that single dust particle was duplicated by over 2 million. And that's just one of several examples for this film. On an executive level, the film was teetering on disaster. Disney was at first unhappy with the initial pace of the film. Guggenheim was forced out as producer, leaving Karen Jackson and Helene Plotkin to take his place. Upon A Bug's Life's completion in 1998, Lasseter finally took back control of production. Keeping the budget down for a direct-to-video film was near impossible. Disney didn't count Toy Story 2 as part of Pixar's initial 5-film deal, which became a point of contention. Disney viewed more reels around late 1998, and were now impressed by the film's quality, wanting to vamp it up to a theatrical release. Pixar thought the film's quality was not worthy of that and urged Disney to keep it direct-to-video. Disney disagreed and thought the film was fine the way it was turning out. Lasseter went to Steve Jobs to try to buy more time, but unfortunately this could not be done as merchandise and marketing deals were already made. This meant Pixar had 8 months to fix the story, upgrade and polish the animation, and add 12 minutes of material that didn't feel like padding. Speaking of those 12 minutes, Lasseter got a team of screenwriters together at his house for a single weekend. Together they devised a restructured version of the script. Lasseter briefed the Pixar team on these changes the following Monday. Now let's slow down for a second. Imagine being a Pixar animator and seeing all the drama taking place. Do you feel exhausted yet? Well, hope you have some endurance left because it's about to get even worse. In 1998, one of the animators was trying to clean out files on the main computer, but accidentally deleted the root folder of all Toy Story 2 assets. Character models started disappearing and errors were being processed by their software. Pixar attempted to shut down the servers, but it was too late. 90% of the film was gone. Even their backup files failed. Pixar thought that they would have to report to Disney that the sequel was off. Then, miraculously, employee Galen Sussman had a copy of the full film at home, where she spent days working on it to help take care of her child. Save for a few days worth of work, the film was restored and Pixar breathed a sigh of relief. The troubles still didn't end there. The Pixar staff proved to be incredibly dedicated, perhaps almost too dedicated. Over a third of the staff suffered from carpal tunnel syndrome and repetitive strain, and despite urges from human resources and doctors, would still work. Company policy pushed for limited overtime, but animators would often break this policy. This led to tons of unauthorized overtime being taken out of the film's budget. To give you an image of how overly dedicated the animation team was, one infamous incident involved an animator who forgot to drop their child off at daycare and left them in the back seat. To the best of my knowledge, the child survived, but it displayed to Pixar that sometimes it's best to execute company policy, no matter how eager the employees were to impress them. Despite these troubles, Toy Story 2 was completed on time and released in November of 1999. It grossed $497 million, proving to be an even bigger success than its predecessor. Critics loved it more than the first, and it cemented Pixar's reputation after the popular but polarizing A Bug's Life. The next Toy Story sequel wouldn't be released for another 11 years, and the story of that film's production I'll cover in my next video. But that's about it for today. So what do you guys think of Toy Story 2's production? Do you think it was more or less dramatic than the first? Comment below and let me know. Also, if you liked what you saw here, click that subscribe button, ring the bell, and be sure to check out more of my content. As always, thanks for watching.